Before we begin, drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Nairobi, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back. Tell me where in the world you are. Now let's dive into the story. Elowen Mireille didn't hear her own scream, only the crushing snap of fate locking around her like iron shackles. She was on the cold earth of Silver Hollow Forest, pinned beneath Kalen Dravik's enormous shadow as moonlight fractured across his shifting form. His claws dug into the soil on either side of her shoulders, caging her in as the wind howled through the black pines. She felt the heat of his breath ghost along her throat a second before his fangs grazed her skin. "Don't," she whispered, her voice trembling. But Kalen's eyes, wild, burning gold, didn't seem to hear her plea. They were the eyes of someone trapped between instinct and agony. Then it happened. His jaws closed over the curve of her neck, sharp and deliberate, and a searing fire exploded through her veins, unwanted, irreversible. He marked her without her consent, and the world went silent, as if even the forest held its breath. Her vision blurred as she felt something ancient coil around her spirit, threading through her heartbeat like smoke finding oxygen. Their souls tethered, just like the stories whispered by children and feared by grown wolves alike. She felt Kalen's pulse slam against hers, a violent crash of two lives forced into one rhythm. Her back arched as a strange warmth flooded her senses, tinting the edges of the world in strange, impossible colors. Kalen stumbled backward, shock flickering across his face as his body reverted, bones reshaping, fur sinking into skin until he stood before her, as a man again, barefoot, shirt torn, chest heaving. "Elowen," he breathed, voice hoarse with something like regret, something like horror. She pressed her hand to the throbbing wound, the bond pulsing beneath it like a second heartbeat. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that to me?" Kalen didn't answer. His silence was heavier than the trees. For a moment, the forest swayed around them, branches bending like they wished to hide the shame of what had been done. The moon drifted behind a cloud, dimming the silver glow that had bathed their bodies. Kalen stared at her with eyes now stripped of power, replaced by a kind of brokenness she'd never seen in him before. "I didn't choose this," he murmured, stepping back, as if afraid to be near the bond he had created. "Something inside me, something old, took control." But Elowen knew that no ancient instinct could justify stealing someone's future. She rose to her feet slowly, shaking, her fingers stained with her own blood. Every breath felt strange, as if her lungs had to relearn how to work with a heart now tied to his. "You ruined my life," she said softly, but the softness was worse than shouting. Kalen flinched like she had struck him. "We're bound now," he whispered. "If you die, I die. If you suffer, I feel it." She closed her eyes, hating that those words terrified her more than the mark. A sudden gust swept through Silver Hollow Forest, scattering leaves in spirals as if delivering a warning from the unseen ancestors. Elowen stepped back, stumbling as her strength wavered, and she grabbed the rough bark of a pine to steady herself. The bond thrummed again, alive, hungry, too aware of her fear. Kalen reached toward her, but she jerked away, a sharp cry ripping from her as pain sliced through her chest. He recoiled instantly. "The bond reacts when you reject me," he said, voice strained. "It punishes us both." She glared at him, tears burning in her eyes. "I never wanted to be tied to you. You've taken everything from me." He bowed his head, jaw tight. "Then I will spend my life giving back what I've stolen. I swear it." His oath dissolved into the cold air, but she kept backing away until the trees swallowed her. Kalen didn't follow. Maybe he couldn't, or maybe the guilt rooted him to the forest floor like a wounded animal. By the time Elowen reached the edge of Moonspire Ridge, her mark pulsed like a burning brand beneath her skin. Villagers gathering herbs looked up as she staggered past them, eyes widening at the sight of the raw, glowing wound. Someone gasped. Someone else whispered, "The Alpha has chosen." But Elowen shook her head, voice barely audible as she murmured, "No, he didn't choose. He took." Her legs buckled, and Saris Winfell, the one friend she trusted, caught her before she hit the ground. "Elowen, what happened?" Saris whispered, fear trembling through her hands. Elowen opened her mouth, but only a broken breath came out. The bond surged again, a flicker of Kaelin's distant heartbeat slamming into hers like a tidal wave. Saris looked towards Silver Hollow Forest, dread sharpening her features. "He marked you," she said softly. Elowen nodded, tears finally falling. "Without asking," she whispered. "And now, our souls are bound forever." Saris held her tighter, as the distant howl of Kaelin Dravik echoed across the ridge, lonely, shattered, and full of the weight of a mistake that could destroy them both. The morning after, the marking felt wrong, as if the world had tilted just enough to make every breath unfamiliar. Elowen Mire woke in Saris Winfell's small cottage, wrapped in blankets that smelled faintly of pine smoke and dried lavender. For a moment she lay still, pretending the ache in her neck was only a bad dream, but the sharp burn pulsed again, too real to ignore. She sucked in a breath as a wave of dizziness rolled over her, followed by a sudden, unwanted flicker of emotion that wasn't hers. Regret. Heavy, dark, suffocating regret. Kaelin's. She pressed her hand to her chest, furious that she could feel anything from him at all. Sarah sat beside her, crushing herbs with trembling hands. "You didn't sleep," Elowen whispered. Sarah shook her head. "You cried in your sleep," she said softly, eyes shining with worry. "And the mark keeps glowing, even when you're unconscious." Elowen looked away. "I don't know how to live with something I never asked for." Saris placed a cool cloth on Elowen's forehead, but even her gentle touch couldn't quiet the strange hum in Elowen's veins. "We need the healer," Sarah said. "Maelor Thorn will know what to do." The name made Elowen stiffen. The pack healer was old, wise, and feared for his truth that cut sharper than blades. If anyone understood soul bonds, it was him. But going to him meant facing what had happened, publicly. "They'll stare," Elowen whispered. "They'll think I wanted this." Saris grabbed her hand firmly. "Anyone who thinks that doesn't deserve to speak your name?" But the thought still slammed into Elowen with the force of a falling tree. Kaelin Dravik was Alpha, powerful, respected, untouchable. She was a herbalist's daughter with no rank, no power, nothing. People would invent reasons to justify what he did. They always did with Alphas. Her stomach twisted as another ripple of Kaelin's emotions hit her chest. Frustration, raw and sharp. She flinched. Saris noticed. "You felt him again?" Elowen nodded, hating every second of it. The walk to Thornhall Keep was short, but every step felt like crossing a battlefield. Villagers paused, whispering as Elowen passed, some with pity, others with awe, a few with envy, which disgusted her. They didn't understand that the mark wasn't a crown, it was a chain. By the time she and Saris reached the wide stone path leading to the healer's chambers, Elowen's legs were shaking. Maelor Thorn was already waiting outside, as if he had sensed her coming. His silver hair fell to his shoulders, eyes sharp as moonlit steel. "Child," he murmured, stepping forward. "Let me see." Elowen hesitated before tilting her head, revealing the glowing crescent-shaped mark. Maelor inhaled sharply, his expression darkening. "This is no ordinary bond," he said. "This was triggered by something deeper, something ancient." Elowen's throat tightened. "Can it be undone?" Maelor's silence stretched like a blade between them. Then he shook his head once. "Not without killing you both." Elowen's breath hitched. Sarah swore under her breath, and then Maelor added quietly, "There's more. This mark wasn't born of desire, but of fear." "Fear," Elowen repeated, heart pounding. Maelor nodded slowly. The magic inside Kaelin, the old alpha blood, reacted to something. something it perceived as danger. Elowen swallowed hard. But I wasn't dangerous. I wasn't even... She stopped, remembering the shadow that had moved. Behind the trees moments before Kaelin attacked, something she had dismissed as wildlife. Mailer watched her carefully. You saw something that night. Elowen didn't speak, but her silence was enough. Sarah stepped closer, lowering her voice. If Kaelin's wolf thought she was threatened... Mailer finished the thought grimly. The wolf acted to protect what it believed was his. The world tilted. Elowen grabbed the edge of the healer's table to steady herself. But I'm not his, she whispered. I never was. Mailer looked at her with sympathy that hurt more than anger. Intentions do not matter to the ancient magic, Elowen. It recognizes bonds long before humans do. She shook her head violently, tears burning her eyes. I don't want this. I don't want to feel him. I don't want him in my mind. Before Mailer could respond, a deep rumble echoed from outside. Heavy footsteps and hushed voices. Saris moved to the window and inhaled sharply. Elowen, he's here. Kaelin Dravik stood in the courtyard below, broad-shouldered, storm-eyed, flanked by Varen Crestfall and 2 guards. Yet his posture wasn't that of an alpha asserting dominance. It was that of a man begging silently. Elowen felt his presence like a cold wind slipping beneath her skin, the bond tightening with painful urgency. Mailer placed a hand on her shoulder. You must confront him eventually, he said. But Elowen's pulse thundered with defiance. Not like this. Not while my freedom is still bleeding. The door creaked open as Kaelin stepped inside, eyes locking onto hers with a force that stole the air from the room. Elowen, he said, voice low, fractured. She felt his guilt crash into her chest like a wave. She stepped back. Don't say my name, she whispered. The bond burned in response, sharp and punishing. Kaelin flinched, clutching his ribs as if stabbed. Good, she thought bitterly. Let him feel something. But then he whispered 4 words that froze her blood. There's someone hunting you. The words, there's someone hunting you, seemed to tear the room open, letting in a cold that didn't belong to Thornhall Keep. Elowen felt the bond surge with Kaelin's urgency, but she pushed it back, refusing to let his fear become hers. You're lying, she said, voice trembling with fury more than doubt. Kaelin stepped forward, shaking his head. I wish I were. Mailer Thorn moved between them, raising a hand. Explain, he commanded. Kaelin exhaled, jaw tight. The night I marked her, I caught a scent. Faint but old. A scent I haven't smelled since childhood. It was watching her. Elowen's stomach twisted. She remembered the dark shape behind the trees, the crunch of branches, the feeling of eyes drilling into her spine. Why would anyone hunt me? She whispered. Kaelin's gaze softened, painfully so. Because your bloodline isn't what you think. Elowen froze, breath catching in her throat. Saris reached for her hand, but Elowen barely felt it. Stop speaking in riddles, she said, voice cracking. Just tell me the truth. Kaelin hesitated, and the hesitation scared her more than anything else. Your father, Eris Davin, he wasn't just a wanderer or a failed merchant like he told everyone. Elowen felt her pulse quicken, each beat a warning. He abandoned us, she said bitterly. He left when I was 8. Kaelin nodded slowly. He left because a rogue clan was hunting him, and anyone connected to him. Elowen's grip on Saris's hand tightened. Memories she had buried long ago clawed their way back. Her father pacing the house at night, always checking windows, always listening to the wind, the way he used to whisper, I'll keep you safe, little one, even when she wasn't scared. What was he? She asked quietly. Kaelin exchanged a heavy glance with Mailer. A seer wolf, Kaelin said. The last of his kind. Elowen blinked in disbelief. Those are myths. Mailer shook his head. No, they are rare wolves born with the ability to see threads of fate and to unravel them. Many fear that power. Elowen felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Are you saying I'm... Kaelin nodded. Half seer wolf, and someone out there knows. A sharp pain stabbed through Elowen's neck, the mark flaring as if warning her of something bigger than betrayal or loss. The room felt suddenly too small, the walls pressing in, the air thick with tension. She backed away until her shoulders hit the stone wall. "So you marked me to protect me?" she asked bitterly. "To make yourself my shield?" Kaylin's face twisted with frustration. "No, I marked you because my wolf sensed something coming for you, and it panicked." His voice shook with truth she didn't want to believe. "Elowen, if something attacked you that night, I didn't see it. My wolf did, and he reacted the only way ancient wolves know to protect what they see as theirs." The word theirs burned like acid. Syrah stepped forward. "What do we do now?" Mailer sighed deeply. "She must stay within the protected grounds of Thornhall Keep. If a hunter or rogue clan is after Seer Wolf blood, they will not stop." Elowen shook her head stubbornly. "You're asking me to give up my life." Kaylin met her gaze. "I'm asking you to survive." The bond pulsed again, this time softer, like it was pleading rather than punishing. Elowen felt a foreign heartbeat brush against hers, but she forced the connection closed. She didn't want his fear or his desperation. She didn't want anything from him. But when she stepped outside the healer's chamber, the world did not look the same. Shadows clung differently to Thornhall's stone walls. The wind carried warnings instead of whispers. Even the sky, heavy with clouds, felt like it was watching her. As she walked, Sarah's close behind, Elowen's mind raced with fragments of her father, his quick glances over his shoulder, the way he never stayed anywhere long, the way he hugged her a little too tightly before disappearing forever. She suddenly felt 8 years old again, standing barefoot in the doorway as Eris Davin walked away, without saying goodbye. "If he knew I was in danger," she whispered, "why didn't he stay?" Saris wrapped an arm around her, voice soft. "Because running doesn't always mean cowardice. Sometimes it means love twisted into the only shape a broken person can manage." Elowen's eyes stung. Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed from deeper within the keep. Guards sprinted toward the entrance hall, weapons drawn. Saris pulled Elowen behind a column as Kaylin raced past them, shifting midair with a sound like snapping storm branches. His wolf form hit the ground running, enormous and furious, growling so deeply the stone beneath them vibrated. The air thickened with scent, dark, sharp, rotten. Elowen's blood turned to ice. She recognized it instantly, though she had never smelled it before. A hunter, not human, not wolf, something in between, something ancient. The guards formed a barrier, but the creature burst through the wooden doors as if they were parchment. It was tall, twisted, its limbs too long, its eyes glowing with hunger. It turned toward her instantly, ignoring everyone else, as if pulled by a string that led straight to her soul. Elowen staggered back. The creature snarled, lips peeling to reveal jagged teeth. Kaylin lunged at it, hitting it with such force the wall shook. Blood splattered across the floor. The hunter screeched, a sound that stabbed through Elowen's skull, and then vanished into smoke. Silence fell, broken only by Kaylin's growl vibrating through the hall. Guards whispered in terror. Saris held Elowen's trembling hands. Mailer approached slowly, staring at the black scorch marks left where the creature had stood. "This confirms it," he said grimly. "The hunter is bound to your bloodline. It will return stronger." Elowen swallowed hard. "Why me?" Mailer turned to her, face solemn. "Because you are the last thread your father left behind, and the hunter intends to cut it." Elowen felt the bond surge painfully, Kaylin's wolf pressing emotions against her heart. Protection, panic, fierce determination. She closed her eyes, whispering through shaking breaths, "I don't want this bond." Kaylin shifted back to human form, bruised, bleeding, panting. "But you need it," he said. Not triumphantly, not possessively, just truthfully. The bond glowed beneath her skin, pulsing like fate itself awakening, and for the first time, Elowen feared not the bond, but what hunted her through it. The night after the attack settled over Thornhall Keep like a suffocating veil. Torches flickered along the stone walls, their flames trembling with every gust of wind that slipped through the corridors. Elowen sat alone in the high tower chamber assigned to her, one usually reserved for honored guests, not prisoners of fate. She pressed her hand against the window's cold glass, staring at the moon suspended above Silver Hollow Forest. It looked too gentle, too peaceful to belong to the same world where monstrous hunters tore through wooden doors searching for her blood. The bond pulsed under her skin, alive, restless. She felt Kaelin somewhere below, pacing, wounded, frustrated. She shut her eyes, trying to block him out, but the connection was a stubborn vine, threading through every part of her. I didn't choose this, she thought bitterly. Outside, a lone wolf howled, the sound echoing against the cliffs. For a moment, she wondered if it was Kaelin, or something else watching from the trees. A soft knock interrupted the silence. Sarah slipped inside, carrying a tray of herbs and warm broth. Her eyes were tired, rimmed with fear she tried to hide. "You're shaking," Saris whispered, setting the tray down. Elowen hadn't realized she was. "It's the bond," she murmured. "I can feel him moving. I can feel his anger." Sarah sat beside her. "Not at you," she said gently. "At the creature that came for you." But Elowen shook her head. "He's angry at himself too. I feel that the strongest." Saris hesitated. "Elowen, what if he's right? What if the bond is the only thing keeping you alive right now?" Elowen's heartbeat stumbled. "I don't want my life tied to someone else's." Her voice cracked. "Not like this." Saris took her hand, squeezing softly. "I know. But the world doesn't always care how we want things. It only cares how we survive them." Elowen swallowed, her throat aching with the weight of it. "I don't even know who I am anymore." Saris whispered, "Then we'll find out together." Down in the courtyard, Kaelin Dravik stood with Maelor Thorn and Varen Crestfall, the night air chilling the blood smeared across his skin. He hadn't bothered to wash. There were more pressing matters than his own wounds. "The hunter vanished," Varen muttered. "Into smoke." Kaelin clenched his jaw. "It's not smoke. It's soul-shifting magic. Old magic." Maelor nodded grimly. "Hunters like that were created to track a single bloodline. They cannot be reasoned with, cannot be stopped by ordinary means." Kaelin exhaled sharply. "Then tell me how to kill it." Maelor's silence stretched. Finally, he said, "A hunter like this doesn't die by the blade. It dies by cutting off its purpose." Kaelin stared at him. "Elowen?" Maelor bowed his head. "As long as she lives, it hunts. As long as she runs, it follows. As long as she is untrained, she is vulnerable." The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of Elowen's fear. Kaelin's heart twisted. "She won't accept me," he murmured. "She doesn't have to," Maelor replied. "But she must accept what she is." When Kaelin finally climbed the tower stairs, his steps were slow, almost hesitant. He stopped outside Elowen's door, feeling her presence through the bond, fragile but fierce. Before he could knock, the door opened, Saris staring at him with guarded eyes. "She's tired," Saris said. "She needs rest." Kaelin nodded, but his voice was low and steady. "The hunter will return tonight or tomorrow. She deserves to know how to defend herself." Saris hesitated, then stepped aside. Elowen stood by the window, moonlight tracing the line of her jaw, her mark glowing faintly like embers under skin. Kaelin swallowed, the sight of her stirring something sharp and reverent in him. "Say what you came to say," Elowen whispered. Kaelin stepped forward, keeping a respectful distance. "You have power you've never used," he said softly. "Power your father tried to hide." Elowen's breath hitched. "I'm not a wolf, not like you." Kaelin shook his head. "No, you're something rarer. Seer wolves don't fight with strength, they fight with sight." She frowned. "I don't understand." Kaelin met her gaze. "Your visions will come soon." Elowen felt the room tilt. "Visions?" Kaelin nodded. "Flashes, moments, warnings, pieces of what might be." Saris whispered, Is this why the hunter wants her? Mailer's voice echoed in Elowen's memory. Because you are the last thread your father left behind. Kaelin stepped closer. Elowen, you don't have to trust me. You don't have to like me. But you must let me train you. If you don't, the hunter will take you. Elowen wrapped her arms around herself, the weight of fate pressing hard against her ribs. I don't want any of this, she whispered. Kaelin's eyes softened with something like sorrow. Neither did I, he murmured. But wanting doesn't change the bond, or the danger. The bond pulsed warm and electric between them. Elowen felt her strength wavering. She wasn't agreeing, not yet, but she wasn't running either, and for tonight, that was enough. As Kaelin turned to leave, a sudden sharp pain sliced through Elowen's skull, vision bursting like shattered glass. She gasped, collapsing to her knees. Sarah screamed her name. Kaelin spun around, catching Elowen just before she hit the floor. Her eyes turned white, glowing, and in a voice not her own, she whispered, trembling, It's already here. Elowen's voice echoed through the tower chamber, hollow and distant, as if someone or something spoke through her. Kaelin held her trembling body against his chest, feeling the bond flare with a fierce electric heat. Her eyes were pure white, glowing like moonfire, her breath shallow. Sarah's backed away, hand over her mouth. Kaelin, what's happening to her? He didn't answer. He didn't have answers. All he felt through the bond was pressure, like something clawing at the edges of Elowen's mind. Then the glow in her eyes flickered, and she inhaled sharply, as if surfacing from deep water. Her body went limp. Kaelin lowered her gently to the floor as her vision cleared. She blinked up at him, panic thick in her voice. I saw it. Kaelin leaned closer. What did you see? Elowen swallowed hard, her hands trembling violently. Not the hunter. Something worse. Something behind it. The room fell silent. Outside, thunder rolled through the mountains, though no storm had been forecast. Cirrus whispered, Elowen, what's behind it? Elowen closed her eyes. A face, and a voice calling my name. Kaelin lifted her into a chair, his hands steady, but his heartbeat pounding through the bond like drums. Describe it, he urged. Elowen shook her head. I can't. It felt like looking directly into fire. She pressed her hands to her temples, chest heaving. The hunter is just a tool. Someone sent it. Someone who knows I exist. Sarah touched her shoulder. Are you sure it wasn't just fear shaping the vision? Elowen's eyes snapped open. No, this wasn't imagination. It was memory. Kaelin stiffened. Memory? Elowen nodded slowly. Something from before my father left. Her hands shook harder. I remember a tall figure speaking to him in the woods behind our home. I remember my father yelling, telling them to stay away from me. Kaelin exchanged a grim look with Saris. Who was the figure? He asked. Elowen whispered, I don't know. But they weren't wolf or human. A cold shiver crawled up Kaelin's spine. Something ancient, something that should not exist. And it was watching her even now. The torches lining the stairwell suddenly flickered, shadows dancing wildly across the walls. Varen Crestfall burst into the chamber without knocking, breath uneven. Alpha, we found traces at the forest edge. Kaelin stood instantly, tension coiling through his muscles. What kind of traces? Varen swallowed. Claw marks. But wrong. Too deep for a wolf, too sharp for a bear. And the trees... He hesitated. They were burned, blackened, like touched by magic. Elowen's mark pulsed, glowing faintly beneath her skin. Saris grabbed her hand, fear widening her eyes. Kaelin looked back at Elowen. Your vision wasn't a warning. It was a time marker. She frowned. What do you mean? He stepped closer, voice low and urgent. Whatever hunts you, it's already within our borders. For a moment, the world held its breath. Even the wind seemed to freeze outside the high tower window. Then Elowen whispered, So what do we do? Kaelin answered without hesitation. We prepare for war. Training began at dawn. The courtyard was cold, mist curling along the stones like pale fingers reaching for weak ankles. Elowen stood at the center, her cloak wrapped tight, her pulse unsteady. Kaelin stepped into the circle with her, no weapons in hand, only his steady gaze. "You're not learning to fight like a wolf," he said. "You're learning to survive like a seer wolf." Elowen folded her arms. "I can't fight visions." Kaelin shook his head. "No, but you can use them." He reached out and touched the mark on her neck lightly, and the bond flared hot enough to make her gasp. "This isn't just a chain," he murmured. "It's a channel. You can learn to guide it." Elowen stepped back. "I don't want anything from this bond." Kaelin's expression softened. "Want has nothing to do with it. Survival does." He moved behind her. "Close your eyes." She hesitated, then obeyed. "Breathe," he said quietly. She inhaled. "Listen." She exhaled. "Feel." Slowly she opened her awareness. The world sharpened, wind shifting through pine needles, guards whispering at the courtyard edge, the rush of Kaelin's heartbeat behind her, and then something else, a whisper beneath the earth. It wasn't a voice, but a pull, a thread tugging her attention toward the forest. Her eyes snapped open, breath quickening. "Something's moving," she whispered. Kaelin stepped beside her. "Where?" She pointed toward the eastern tree line. "There." Varen didn't hesitate. He signaled scouts, and within seconds, 3 wolves sprinted across the courtyard and vanished into the mist. Elowen watched them go, her pulse racing. Kaelin studied her, a flicker of awe in his eyes. "You felt that before any of us." Elowen shook her head. "I didn't feel it. I saw it." Kaelin's breath caught. "A vision?" She nodded, trembling. "A shape, but too fast to make out." Saris whispered, "Is the hunter returning?" Elowen hugged her arms around herself. "No, something smaller, but it's searching, sniffing." Kaelin tensed. "A scout." Varen returned moments later, breath ragged, shifting mid-run. "Alpha. We found tracks, not the hunter. Something sent to test our defenses." Kaelin's jaw tightened. "It knows where she is." Elowen felt the bond surge painfully, and the realization crashed over her. The hunter won't come alone next time. Back in the training circle, Kaelin stood close, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "Elowen, there's something you must understand." She looked up, unsettled by the seriousness in his eyes. "What?" He exhaled slowly. "The creature that hunts you, it's not just tracking your bloodline, it's tracking your awakening." Her breath caught. "Awakening?" Kaelin nodded. "The vision you had wasn't random. It was your first step into what seer wolves truly are." She shook her head. "But I don't want this power." Kaelin touched her arm gently. "Power doesn't wait for permission. It grows. And it's growing in you." Elowen felt her heart race, her skin prickling with fear. "What happens now?" she whispered. Kaelin's voice dropped to a solemn murmur. "Now, your visions will become stronger, sharper, and the hunter will become desperate." She closed her eyes as dread crawled through her. "I don't want to become a weapon." He leaned closer. "You're not a weapon, Elowen. You're a target, and targets must learn how not to die." Night draped itself over Thornhall Keep like a heavy shroud as the torches dimmed and the courtyard emptied. Elowen sat alone beneath the ancient oak in the training grounds, her breath forming pale clouds in the chilled air. Her body trembled from exhaustion, but her mind swirled with restless energy, not her own, but Kaelin's. Through the bond, she felt his frustration burning like coals, sharp and relentless. He was somewhere on the western rampart, pacing, planning, fearing. She hated that she knew this, hated that she could sense the rhythm of his heartbeat, the tightening of his jaw, the way he clenched his fists each time her fear spiked. "I want out," she whispered into the wind. "I want my life back." But the trees offered no comfort. Instead, a cold whisper slid across her skin. "You cannot run from what you are." She shivered violently and stood, pulling her cloak tighter around her shoulders. The bond pulsed once, warningly, as if sensing danger before she did. Elowen froze. The air shifted. Something was watching her. A figure stepped from behind the oak, small, hunched, cloaked in shadow. Elowen stumbled back, but a faint lantern was raised, revealing a wrinkled face framed by wild gray curls. "Do not fear me, child, my foes," the woman said softly. "I mean no harm." Elowen pressed a hand to her racing heart. "Who are you?" The woman bowed her head gently. "Farron Loom, herbalist, listener of winds, finder of lost truths." Elowen blinked. Saris mentioned you. You live beyond the southern ridge," Farron nodded. "I felt your awakening from leagues away. Werewolf blood has a way of whispering to the old ones." She stepped closer, eyes glowing faintly in the lamplight. "Your power is blooming faster than expected." Elowen backed away. "I don't want it to bloom." Farron laughed softly, not unkindly. "Blooming isn't a choice. It is nature's demand." Elowen swallowed hard. "Why are you here?" The herbalist's expression darkened. "To warn you. Your visions are not only windows, they are doors, and something on the other side is trying to walk through." Before Elowen could respond, Farron reached into her cloak and gently lifted Elowen's chin, examining the mark. Her fingers were cool, surprisingly gentle. "The bond anchors you," she murmured. "It steadies the visions, stops them from tearing your mind apart." Elowen flinched. "I don't want Kaelin anchoring anything in me." Farron sighed. "Child, the bond is not about him. It's about survival. Without an anchor, your visions could consume you." Elowen shook her head. "Why would my father give me a power that destroys me?" Farron's eyes softened with pity. "He didn't. He tried to protect you from it. That is why he fled. The visions began too early in you. He feared losing you the way that others were lost." Elowen stared. "Others?" Farron hesitated. "Werewolves often have one child with the gift. Many do not survive their awakening." Elowen felt her blood run cold. "And the hunter?" she whispered. Farron's voice dropped to a chilling murmur. "It fed on those who awakened, until your father escaped with you." Elowen's knees weakened. "So it hunts me because I'm next." Farron nodded. "Unless you learn to see fully." Kaelin appeared then, fast, furious, raw. He must have felt Elowen's fear spike through the bond, because he crossed the courtyard in seconds, shifting mid-stride before becoming human again. "Get away from her," he growled, placing himself in front of Elowen. Farron simply lifted a brow. "Still dramatic, Alpha Dravik." Kaelin stiffened. "You know me." "I know your lineage," she said. "And I know that your bond to this girl may be the only reason she is not dead already." Elowen stepped around Kaelin. "She's trying to help." Kaelin shot her a look, wounded and protective all at once. "You shouldn't be alone out here." Elowen crossed her arms. "I'm not helpless." "You fainted during a vision 2 hours ago," he snapped. Elowen bristled. "I didn't faint. I collapsed temporarily," Farron chuckled. "You two argue like a mated pair." Elowen flushed. Kaelin looked away sharply. "We are not." "Bound?" Farron finished. "Ah, yes. Against your wills. Fate can be inconvenient that way." Kaelin's jaw tightened. "What do you want, Farron?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "To tell you, the hunter has crossed into the lower valley. It moves differently now. Faster. Almost desperate." The words twisted the atmosphere into something brittle and terrifying. Kaelin's expression darkened. "How long until it reaches Thornhall?" Farron's answer was instant. "Before sunrise." Elowen felt her stomach drop. The hunter was close. Close enough for the air to taste wrong. Close enough for the ground to hum beneath her feet. Kaelin turned to Elowen. "You're not leaving my sight tonight." She glared at him. "You don't get to decide that." He stepped closer, voice rough. "The hunter is tracking your awakening. Every vision draws it nearer. I'm not letting it take you." Elowen's breath faltered as the bond surged, heat blooming beneath her ribs. She hated it. Hated that she felt safer near him. hated that the bond steadied her heartbeat when she wanted to stay angry. "I don't want to need you," she whispered. "Trust me," Kaelin murmured. "I wish you didn't." Farron clapped her hands sharply. "Enough. There's no time for pride. Elowen, your visions will intensify tonight. The closer the hunter comes, the louder fate becomes." Elowen swallowed. "I don't know how to control them." Farron smiled sadly. "Then you must learn fast, because when the sun rises, something ancient will demand to be seen." The wind screamed against Thornhall's stone walls long before dawn, carrying with it the metallic tang of danger. Elowen stood in the tower chamber, palms pressed to the wooden table before her, breath trembling. She had not slept. Visions came in flashes, too quick to understand, too sharp to forget, shadows stretching across a forest, a hand reaching through smoke, a voice whispering her name, closer each time. The bond pulsed erratically within her, mirroring Kaelin's rising tension as he prepared the keep for attack. She could feel him moving, issuing orders, shifting forms, snapping at guards when fear spiked through him too fast to hide. The hunter was near. Not just near. Closing in like a storm collapsing the horizon. Elowen squeezed her eyes shut, trying to breathe through the pressure in her skull. Fate didn't whisper anymore. It pounded. Saris hovered near the door, twisting her hands. "You're pale," she murmured. "You need rest." Elowen shook her head. "Rest isn't helping. It keeps getting louder." A tremor shivered through the stone beneath their feet. Saris paled. "That wasn't thunder." Kaelin burst into the chamber moments later, chest heaving, hair damp with sweat. "It's here," he said. "In the valley." Elowen felt the bond throb painfully, matching the urgency in his voice. He stepped toward her, but she backed away, clutching her temples. "It's too loud," she gasped. "Everything. Every heartbeat. Every fear. Every thought." Kaelin stiffened. "You're sensing the pack?" She shook her head. "No. Something else. Something underneath." Her breath hitched as a sudden image sliced through her mind. A blackened forest floor, footsteps that burned the earth, a tall silhouette formed of ash and flame. She choked on a scream. Saris lunged to steady her, but the vision threw Elowen sideways, collapsing her onto the cold floor. She writhed as images slammed into her, Kaelin bloodied, Saris screaming, Thornhall burning. A voice whispered through the chaos, chilling her marrow. "Little seer, come out." Kaelin dropped to his knees beside her. "Elowen, look at me." She forced her eyes open, vision swimming. "It's not alone," she rasped. "Something else is coming with it." Mailer arrived then, urgency carved into his features. "Her awakening is accelerating too quickly," he said. "She cannot survive this without guidance." Kaelin growled. "Guide her, then." Mailer shook his head. "No. She needs someone tied to her essence, someone the bond responds to." Elowen's heart stuttered. Kaelin froze. "Me?" Mailer nodded grimly. "Her visions are ripping open. If she doesn't anchor through the bond, her mind could shatter." Elowen recoiled. No, I don't want him inside my thoughts." A violent tremor struck her again, making the torches flicker wildly. Kaelin reached for her, but she pushed him away, tears streaking down her face. "I don't want you in me," she screamed. Kaelin's expression twisted, torn between respect and desperation. "Then tell me how to save you without hurting you," he whispered. She couldn't. She didn't know. Mailer knelt beside them. "Elowen, if you don't let him anchor you, the visions will kill you before the hunter ever reaches the gates." Her breath broke. "Why does everything in my life depend on him?" Kaelin whispered. "Because fate is cruel." The bond surged like a living thing, clawing at Kaelin's chest, pulling him toward her despite her resistance. Sarah stepped forward. "Elowen, listen. I know you hate what happened. I know you feel trapped. But this isn't surrender. It's survival." Elowen trembled harder. "It feels like giving him my mind." Kaelin's voice softened. "No. It's letting me hold the door while your power breaks through. I don't go inside. I stand beside you. her vision blurred with tears. I don't trust you. His jaw tightened with pain. Then trust that I don't want to watch you die. A long silence fell, broken only by Elowen's ragged breathing and the distant growl of something monstrous moving closer. Finally, shaking, she reached toward him. Not willingly, not accepting, but because the alternative was drowning in visions she couldn't fight. Kaelin took her hands gently, as if holding something fragile. The bond flared, hot and bright, rushing through them both. Elowen gasped as the pressure in her skull eased, just enough to breathe. Kaelin inhaled sharply, feeling her fear, her confusion, her exhaustion. I've got you, he murmured. She didn't answer. The moment their connection stabilized, the world around Elowen shifted. She no longer saw the tower chamber. She no longer felt the cold air. Instead, she was standing in a vast, dark forest, lit by blue fire. Shadows crawled across the ground like living threads. Kaelin appeared beside her, not physically, but through the bond, his presence a warm outline. This is your sight, he whispered. She swallowed. It's horrible. It's power, he corrected gently. The blue flames bent suddenly, as if pushed by a wind that didn't exist. A silhouette stepped between the burning trees, a tall, twisted shape with glowing eyes. Elowen's breath caught. That's it. Kaelin's voice hardened. The hunter. But then a second shape rose behind it, larger, darker, draped in tattered black mist that writhed like serpents. Its eyes were hollow white voids, ancient and furious. Elowen felt its gaze pierce straight through her soul. She choked on a scream. Child of threads. You are mine, the voice boomed inside her head. Elowen stumbled backward as the vision shattered, throwing her violently back into her body. She screamed and clutched her chest. Kaelin caught her before she fell, his arms closing around her. She trembled uncontrollably, whispering through broken breaths. The hunter isn't the true danger. Kaelin's pulse spiked. Then what is? Elowen lifted her trembling eyes to his. Something older. Something that wants my power, not my death. The world around Elowen felt stretched thin, as if reality itself trembled beneath the weight of the vision she had just escaped. Kaelin held her steady, his breath warm against her hair, the bond burning a steady, urgent rhythm between them. Saris hovered close, fear etched so deeply across her face that it made Elowen's chest ache. What did you see? Saris whispered. Elowen tried to speak, but her voice broke into fragments. Kaelin cupped her face gently, forcing her to meet his gaze. Elowen, tell us. She swallowed hard, fighting the tremor in her jaw. There's something behind the hunter, she finally managed. Something older. It spoke to me. It knows my name. The words chilled the room. Mailer's expression darkened to something bordering horror. A Shadowborne, he murmured. Kaelin stiffened. Those are legends. Mailer shook his head. Legends begin as truths too dangerous to remember. Elowen's knees weakened. It wants my power, she whispered. It isn't trying to kill me. It's trying to claim me. Kaelin's grip tightened instantly, as if trying to hold her in place. Elowen's pulse quickened, the bond reacting violently to the fear twisting through her. Kaelin steadied her, lowering her into a chair as Saris rushed to fetch water. Mailer knelt beside her, his gaze sharp and urgent. Elowen, listen carefully. The Shadowborne were ancient beings who preyed upon seer wolves for their visions. To them, a seer wolf is not a person. It is a key to fate itself. Elowen's stomach churned. But why now? Why me? Mailer sighed. Because you awakened, child. Your power flared bright enough to be seen across realms, and the hunter is merely what it sends to weaken you. Kaelin paced the room like a caged storm. So how do we stop it? Mailer's silence felt like a blade sliding into the room. There is no stopping a Shadowborne, only binding it, or dying before it reaches you. Elowen gasped. Binding it? With what? Mailer looked at her with sorrow. Your visions. Your will. Kaelin stopped pacing. That will kill her. Mailer shook his head. No. The bond might keep her alive long enough to try. Kaelin turned to Elowen, and something raw flickered in his eyes. Fear not for himself, but for her. "You're not doing this alone," he said. Elowen's lips parted in disbelief. "You can't help me inside a vision." "Maybe not," Kaelin said, "but I can hold you here. I can keep your body alive while your spirit fights." His voice was ragged, as though the idea of losing her had dug claws into his heart. Elowen looked away, overwhelmed by the intensity between them. Through the bond, his emotions pressed against her. Fierce, protective, terrified. "I never asked for this," she whispered. Kaelin stepped closer. "And I never wanted to be the one who forced your fate, but wanting doesn't matter now. Staying alive does." Cerys returned with water, hands shaking. "Elowen, if this thing is coming, you need every advantage, even the bond." Elowen pressed her fingers to her temples. "The bond feels like chains." Kaelin knelt before her. "Then let it be a shield instead." She trembled, torn between fury and fragile hope. The torches outside flickered violently, as if a cold breath swept through the stone corridors. A guard's shout echoed from the courtyard below. Kaelin stiffened. "It's here!" Cerys gasped. Maelor cursed under his breath. Elowen surged to her feet, heart pounding so fiercely she feared it would shatter her ribs. The bond flared, dragging Kaelin's panic into her chest. She staggered from the double weight of her own fear and his. Kaelin moved to her side instantly. "Stay behind me." Elowen shook her head. "No. It wants me. I won't hide behind your back like prey." Kaelin's expression twisted with conflict, but he didn't argue. A tremor rippled through the floor, dust sifting from the ceiling. The hunter's presence pressed against the walls, a suffocating force of hunger and ancient hatred. Maelor whispered, "If you are to bind the Shadowborne that controls it, you must meet it within your sight." Elowen's skin prickled. "You mean enter a vision willingly?" Maelor nodded. "Yes, and Kaelin will anchor you." Kaelin stepped closer. "If you fall, I'm bringing you back." Elowen took one slow breath, then another, trying to steady her shaking hands. "How do I start?" she asked. Maelor guided her to the center of the chamber. "Close your eyes. Focus on the bond. Let it open the door, but you choose what steps through." Kaelin wrapped his hands around hers, grounding her. His heartbeat echoed through the bond, steady, powerful, protective. "I'm here," he murmured. "I won't let go." Elowen exhaled and let her vision blur into darkness. At first, nothing came. Then a single thread of blue light appeared before her. She reached toward it. The thread snapped, and the world spun violently. She fell, not through air, but through time, through possibility, through fate itself. She landed in a forest of shadow and flame. The hunter stood before her, but it didn't lunge. It bowed its twisted head. Behind it, the Shadowborne emerged, towering, hollow-eyed, cloaked in living darkness. Elowen's breath stopped. "Child of threads," it whispered, "give me your sight, and I will let your world live." Elowen lifted her chin, trembling. "No," the Shadowborne smiled. "Then you will break." The Shadowborne towered over Elowen like a living eclipse, its hollow white eyes devouring every flicker of light in the vision realm. The hunter crouched behind it, obedient and trembling, as if the creature's presence scorched even its monstrous skin. Elowen felt the weight of its gaze press against her ribs, squeezing the air from her lungs. "Give me your sight," it repeated, voice echoing like broken bells. Elowen forced herself to stand tall, though her legs shook violently. "My sight isn't yours to take." The Shadowborne tilted its head, amused. "Child, everything you possess comes from the threads I weave." A cold shiver sliced through her spine. The blue flames around them dimmed, replaced by twisting shadows that curled like hungry vines. The bond pulsed violently, Kaelin's urgency slamming into her chest. She felt his hands gripping her real body, his heartbeat hammering through the tether. His voice echoed faintly through the realm. "Elowen, don't let it in." She exhaled shakily. You can't have me, she whispered. The Shadowborne's form expanded, darkness rolling off it. I already do. A sudden force yanked her forward, dragging her, as if gravity had reversed. Elowen dug her heels into the shadowed ground, but her feet slid helplessly. The hunter scuttled closer, its claws scraping sparks as it hissed her name. No, she shouted, summoning every ounce of resistance she had. Her vision blurred as a surge of heat exploded through the bond, Kaelin's power slamming into her like a wave. The Shadowborne growled, its mist form flickering. Your anchor interferes. Elowen gasped as another force pulled back, Kaelin's presence dragging her away from the creature. She felt him, strong and frightened, whispering her name like a plea. The Shadowborne extended a hand of smoke, and the entire realm shook. You cannot escape your thread. Elowen's breath faltered. I'm not a thread, she choked out. I'm a person. The Shadowborne's laughter rattled the sky. You are a doorway. The hunter lunged at her, jaws wide. Elowen threw up her hands instinctively, blue fire bursting from her palms in a blinding arc. The hunter screeched as the flame hit it, its body twisting in agony. Shock rippled through Elowen. She hadn't known she could do that. Kaelin's voice pushed through the realm again, stronger this time. Elowen, listen to me. Use your sight. Don't run from it. She clenched her fists, summoning the flicker of blue fire again, feeling it coil through her veins like liquid stormlight. The hunter lunged a second time, but this time Elowen stepped into the vision, not away from it. She saw threads around the creature, faint as spider silk, tugging it forward. Fate threads. Her inheritance, her curse. Elowen slashed her hand through the air, severing one of the glowing threads. The hunter shrieked, collapsing with a smoking wound across its chest. The Shadowborne roared, its form unraveling at the edges. You dare cut what I weave? Elowen's voice shook, but she stood firm. You're not fate, she whispered. You're a parasite feeding on it. The Shadowborne lunged, shadows swirling into a spear aimed straight at her heart. Elowen froze until Kaelin's presence surged into her with brutal intensity, anchoring her spirit. The spear halted inches from her chest. Her breath returned in a painful rush. The Shadowborne snarled, Your anchor weakens you. Elowen steadied herself. No, he holds me steady so I can see. She looked up, and for the first time truly saw the truth. The Shadowborne itself was bound by threads, hundreds of them, connecting it to something hidden beyond the realm, something like a void. Her power pulsed. She raised her hand. Kaelin whispered through the bond, Elowen, whatever you're about to do, don't do it alone. She swallowed hard. I'm not. She seized one of the threads connected to the Shadowborne. It convulsed, screeching, shadows shredding around its body. Child, stop! She didn't. She sliced the thread with blinding blue fire. The Shadowborne's form cracked, pieces falling away like dying embers. The hunter wailed as its body disintegrated. The entire realm shook violently, cracks spidering across the sky. Kaelin's voice turned panicked. Elowen, the vision is collapsing. Come back! Come back now! Elowen stumbled as the ground split beneath her. Flames roared, shadows collapsed. Elowen tried to run toward the light of the tether, the bond, but something icy wrapped around her ankle. She looked down. A remnant of the Shadowborne's smoke-formed hand clung to her. If I fall, you fall with me. Elowen's heart hammered. The bond tightened, pulling her upward, Kaelin's strength pouring into her. Elowen, don't let go. The Shadowborne's grip tightened. Pain exploded in her leg. Kaelin, she screamed. I can't break free. Through the collapsing realm, Kaelin's voice broke raw with terror. Elowen, hear me. I choose the bond. I choose you. Now choose me back. Fight through it. Something shifted inside her. Something fierce. Something defiant. For the first time, she didn't reject the bond. She pulled from it. Drew strength from it. Claimed it. Power surged through her, blue light blazing around her form. With a final, furious cry, she tore the Shadowborne's grip from her ankle, The creature howled as it plunged into the collapsing shadows. Elowen lunged toward the tether, and the realm shattered into blinding white. She slammed back into her body with a brutal gasp. Kaelin caught her as she fell forward, both of them collapsing to the floor. The bond burned with overwhelming heat, pulsing in frantic relief. Elowen trembled violently, tears streaking her face. Kaelin held her tighter, voice cracking. "I thought I lost you," he whispered. She pressed her forehead against his chest, breath shuddering. "Kaelin, I saw what it really wants." He swallowed. "What?" Elowen lifted her shaking eyes to meet his. "Not my death, not my power." Her voice trembled. "It wants to use me to rewrite fate itself." And then the torches around them extinguished at once, plunging Thornhall into darkness. Darkness swallowed Thornhall Keep so completely that Elowen couldn't see her own trembling hands. The bond flared in panic, Kaelin's heartbeat pounding through her chest as if trying to anchor her to reality. Guards shouted down the corridors, steel clashing, torches reigniting one by one in shaky bursts. But the darkness lingering after the extinguished flames wasn't normal. It felt heavy, aware. Elowen rose unsteadily, gripping Kaelin's arm as her vision flickered with aftershocks of the collapsing realm. "It's here," she whispered. "Not the hunter, the Shadowborne itself." Kaelin stepped in front of her, shifting instinctively, though his wolf form trembled from the strain of pulling her back. "Stay behind me." She shook her head. "It isn't coming for you. It's coming through me." Her skin prickled as the air thickened. A low hum vibrated through the stones beneath their feet, a sound like wind trapped in a coffin. Saris burst into the chamber, pale and breathless. "The shadows in the courtyard. They're moving on their own." Maelor appeared behind her, face twisted with dread. "It's breaching the veil." A cold breeze bled into the room, extinguishing the remaining torches. Elowen gasped as a familiar voice coiled around her like fog. "Child of threads. Open the way." Her legs buckled. Kaelin caught her, his grip fierce. "Fight it," he whispered. "You can." But Elowen was already slipping, visions flickering uncontrollably. Blue flames, cracking skies, threads stretching across the void like veins, and the Shadowborne pulling them taut. Maelor pressed his hands to her temples. "She can't block it anymore. The creature is too close." Kaelin growled. "Then we drive it back." Maelor shook his head grimly. "No blade or wolf can touch a Shadowborne, only a seerwolf." Elowen trembled violently. "But I don't know how to close the door." Maelor leaned close. "You're focusing on resisting. But a seerwolf's strength is not resistance, it's vision. You must see the path that seals it." Kaelin turned her face toward him. "Elowen, I'm with you. Whatever you see, I'll hold you here." She swallowed, fear slicing her breath. "And if I fall?" His voice cracked. "Then I fall with you." Elowen closed her eyes, and the darkness exploded into a blinding lattice of glowing threads. Thousands of them stretched across the void, humming with power. At the center loomed the Shadowborne, its form fractured from her earlier strike, but still massive, still hungry. It reached toward her with smoke-formed talons. Kaelin's presence surged through the bond, anchoring her, steadying her. Elowen looked past the creature, forcing herself not to shrink from its hollow gaze. And there, behind it, she finally saw it. A single thread, faint but unbroken, tied directly to her heart. The Shadowborne tugged on it, and pain ripped through her chest in the physical world. She gasped, but held steady. "It's tied to me," she whispered. "To my blood. To my fear." Kaelin's voice echoed through her mind, steady as stone. "Then sever its hold, not with fire, with choice." Elowen inhaled shakily, lifting her trembling hand toward the glowing thread. The Shadowborne screamed, shadows thrashing. "Child, stop!" She ignored it. She gripped the thread, her thread, and for the first time, she did not fear her power. She owned it. Light surged from her palms. The thread snapped. The Shadowborne shrieked, its form collapsing inward as cracks of blinding white tore through its body. The hunter disintegrated beside it, dissolving into drifting ash. The entire realm shook violently, as if the sky itself were shattering. Kaylin's presence wrapped around her like a shield, pulling her back. "Elowen, come home!" he shouted. She reached for him, but the collapsing realm pulled harder, dragging her toward the rift left behind. She stumbled, falling, until Kaylin's hand caught hers through the bond, the connection glowing gold and blue. Pain tore through him as the bond stretched to its breaking point, but he didn't release her. "Kaylin, your heart!" she cried. "Let go." His grip tightened. "Never." With a final desperate pull, he wrenched her free of the collapsing realm. The vision shattered into blinding light. Elowen crashed into her body with a force that knocked the air from her lungs. Kaylin collapsed with her, both shaking, both gasping. The torches roared back to life as if exhaling in relief. Saris cried out in shock, dropping to her knees beside them. Mailer pressed a trembling hand over Elowen's pulse. "It's done," he whispered. "The Shadowborne is gone." Elowen blinked up at Kaylin, tears blurring her vision. "You risked your life," she whispered. Kaylin's voice shook. "You're my bond," she swallowed. "Not by my choice." He cupped her face gently. "Then let me earn it. Let me spend the rest of my life undoing the pain I caused." Her breath trembled. "Kaylin, I don't know if I can ever love you." His eyes softened, full of something sacred. "Then don't. Just live. That's all I ask." Elowen felt the bond pulse, not chains, not fire, but warmth. For the first time, she didn't recoil. Outside, dawn broke over Thornhall Keep, painting the world in gold. Elowen stood at the balcony, Kaylin beside her, close but not touching unless she moved first. She looked out at the horizon, where the last traces of darkness faded. "What happens now?" she whispered. Kaylin inhaled slowly. "Now you decide who you want to be." She turned to him, the bond glowing softly between them. "And if I choose to walk away from you, one day?" Kaylin's voice was quiet, steady. "Then I will follow only if you ask." She studied him. This alpha she had feared, hated, fought, and survived beside. Something inside her shifted. Not love, not yet, but possibility. She extended her hand. "Then walk with me today." Kaylin's breath caught as he took it. Their bond warmed, not with force, but with choice. And for the first time since her life shattered beneath moonlight, Elowen felt whole. The future was hers. If this story pulled you in, if even one moment made your heart race or your chest tighten, don't leave without dropping a comment. Tell me, whose side were you on? Elowen's or Kaylin's? And what would you have done if your soul was bound to someone without your consent? Make sure you hit like, tap subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story dropping soon. And if you want a part 2 or a whole new universe, type more in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Your support keeps these stories alive. Until next time, stay safe, stay powerful, and stay wild.